George Washington's name stands at the very heart of American history. He is remembered not only as the first President of the United States, but as the man who gave life, structure, and direction to a brand new nation when it was surrounded by uncertainty. In a time when there was no clear path to freedom, no guarantee of survival, and no model for success, George Washington's leadership, humility, and courage built the foundation of the United States from the ground up. His services were not acts of personal ambition. They were acts of devotion to the idea of America itself. Washington's greatest service began long before he took the presidential oath. In 1775, when the American colonies were a fragile collection of settlements rebelling against the most powerful empire on earth, Washington accepted the command of the Continental Army. He did so not for wealth or glory, but because he believed deeply in the right of people to govern themselves. The army he inherited was poorly equipped, untrained, and lacking in unity. Yet under his leadership, it became a disciplined force capable of defying the British Empire. Through bitter winters, starvation, and countless defeats, Washington never abandoned his men. At Valley Forge, when his troops faced freezing temperatures, disease, and hunger, he stayed by their side, sharing their hardships and giving them hope. His strength did not come from power, it came from character. That moment alone defined his service to America. He stood firm when others would have given up, showing that leadership means endurance, not comfort. When victory finally came at Yorktown in 1781, Washington could have claimed the spotlight, perhaps even the throne. Many wanted him to become a king. But his sense of duty was far greater than his desire for power. In 1783, he did what almost no victorious general in history had ever done. He resigned his commission and returned home to Mount Vernon. That single act of humility was revolutionary. It told the world that America's freedom would not be built by tyrants, but by servants of the people. Washington's voluntary surrender of power was his gift to democracy, and one of the greatest services any leader has ever performed. Yet his mission to build America did not end there. When the country began to unravel under the weak Articles of Confederation, Washington once again answered the call. In 1787, he presided over the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. The room was filled with debate, division, and distrust, but his calm presence inspired cooperation. He said little, but his honesty and integrity guided the delegates toward compromise. The result was the U.S. Constitution, the blueprint for the government we still live under today. Washington didn't just fight for independence. He helped design the structure that would keep that independence alive. 2 years later, he was unanimously elected the first President of the United States, a remarkable show of trust from a nation still finding its way. There were no political parties, no established systems, and no rules to follow. Washington had to create everything from scratch: the office of the presidency, the cabinet, the policies, and the traditions. Every decision he made set a precedent that shaped how future presidents would lead. He understood that his behavior would define the presidency forever. One of his most important services was his commitment to neutrality. In a world torn by wars between Britain and France, Washington chose peace. He kept America out of entangling alliances that could destroy the young nation before it had a chance to grow. His wisdom laid the foundation for America's early stability and allowed it to develop its own identity, free from the control of foreign powers. Washington also believed in unity above politics. When early factions began dividing the country, he warned against the dangers of partisanship. His farewell address remains a timeless lesson on national harmony, responsibility, and moral leadership. He reminded Americans that liberty requires vigilance and that true strength lies in unity, not division. His words were not meant for his time alone. They were a message to every generation that followed. Even his final act of service came through restraint. After serving 2 terms, he stepped down voluntarily, proving that leadership in a republic is temporary, not permanent. By walking away from power again, he established the peaceful transfer of authority, a tradition that remains one of the cornerstones of American democracy. Every president who has taken office peacefully since then owes that moment to George Washington's example. Washington's service was not measured by battles alone or by laws signed. It was measured by his devotion to principle, by his belief that America should be governed by character, not ambition. He showed that the truest form of leadership is service, that power means nothing without integrity, and that freedom requires sacrifice. He turned a fragile dream into a working nation through courage, discipline, and faith in the American people. Today, his legacy lives on not just in monuments and currency, but in the spirit of the country he helped build. The city of Washington, D.C., the Washington Monument, and his image on the dollar bill are all reminders of what he stood for. But his real monument is the United States itself. Every time Americans vote freely, speak openly, or dream without fear, they honor the service of the man who made it possible. From a struggling army of farmers to a stable republic, George Washington built a nation from nothing. He proved that greatness is not about conquest or wealth. It's about service, sacrifice, and faith in the power of freedom. His life remains a timeless example of what it truly means to serve America. And in every act of honest leadership, in every citizen who puts country before self, the spirit of George Washington still lives on. Leading the American Revolution, George Washington's first and most vital service to America was his leadership during the Revolutionary War. As Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, he took charge of untrained, under-equipped soldiers and transformed them into a united force capable of defeating the mighty British Empire. His perseverance during the darkest times, especially the freezing winter at Valley Forge, proved his strength and determination. Washington didn't just win battles, he inspired belief in a free America. His leadership brought unity to divided colonies and gave the Revolution its soul. Without his vision and courage, independence might have remained only a dream. Choosing honor over power after America's victory, Washington could have easily seized absolute control. Many even wanted to make him king, but he refused. Instead, he resigned from his military position in 1783, returning to private life at Mount Vernon. This selfless act shocked the world. He walked away from power when others would have clung to it. By doing so, Washington set a timeless example that true leadership is about service, not dominance. His humility confirmed that America would be a nation governed by laws, not by rulers. His choice strengthened democracy and established moral authority for generations to come. Shaping the U.S. Constitution when the nation was falling apart under weak leadership, Washington came out of retirement to preside over the Constitutional Convention in 1787. Though he spoke little, his presence commanded respect and guided the delegates toward unity. His fairness, reputation, and wisdom helped create the U.S. Constitution, the supreme law that defines American democracy to this day. He believed that liberty must have structure and freedom must have responsibility. Washington's steady influence at that historic gathering ensured that America would have a strong, balanced government, capable of protecting citizens' rights and preventing the rise of tyranny. Building the presidency from scratch as the first president of the United States, Washington entered completely uncharted territory. There were no rules, no examples to follow, and no roadmap for governing a new nation. Every decision he made set a precedent. He built the presidency with dignity and accountability, creating the cabinet system, promoting economic stability, and defining executive powers. Washington worked tirelessly to balance authority with restraint, ensuring the president would serve the people, not rule them. His calm, deliberate leadership gave Americans faith in their government and shaped the foundation of the presidency that still guides the nation today. Keeping America united and peaceful during his presidency, Washington faced internal divisions and external pressures. Political parties began forming, and foreign nations sought to pull America into their wars. Instead of choosing sides, he focused on unity and neutrality. His neutrality proclamation kept the young nation out of European conflicts, allowing it to grow safely and independently. In his farewell address, he warned against partisanship, corruption, and permanent alliances, advice that remains relevant in modern politics. Washington's steady vision kept America on course, reminding citizens that the country's greatest strength lies in unity, not division. His wisdom protected the nation's fragile beginnings. Setting the standard for democratic leadership, perhaps Washington's greatest service was showing the world how democracy should work. After serving 2 terms as president, he voluntarily stepped down in 1797, proving that leadership in a republic is temporary and earned, not inherited. This peaceful transfer of power became a defining American tradition, respected by every president who followed. By leaving office with grace, Washington demonstrated that the presidency belongs to the people, not the person in power. His decision gave legitimacy to the Constitution and solidified America's reputation as a democracy built on law, integrity, and respect for the will of its citizens.